In this video, we'll learn how to add callouts, pointers, and text labels to your images. First, let us look at pointers and text labels. These are probably the most commonly used elements on your images. Let's add a pointer and a label to the image of the web page, indicating the search field. For this, first we select the image and then click on Image Editor, which opens the image in the editor. Now, in the image editor, click on the Insert line/arrow button on the toolbar on the left. Your mouse cursor changes to the tiny square box with the plus sign on the top left corner. Now click on the image where you would like to place the arrow. I click here so that the arrow does not interfere with other portions of the image. Just as I click to drop the pointer, the line object dialog appears. Here you can select the thickness of the line, color for the line, the type of arrowhead, and even the direction of the arrow. For now, let us leave all defaults as they are because we can invoke this dialog even after dropping the arrow on the image. So click OK and the arrow is dropped on the image. Notice that the image dropped has its arrow pointed away from the search field box. Now here's a tip as far as the direction of the arrows go. The arrowhead of the arrow must always point to the object you wish to label and not to the label. For example, in our case, since we are going to label or point to the search box, the arrowhead of the arrow must also point towards the search box. To change the direction of the arrow, we need to edit the properties of the arrow. To do this, click on the arrow and you should get the square box around the image of the arrow. The square box has object handles that also let you enlarge the arrow or reduce it in size. You can also click and drag the arrow to your desired location on the image. To make finer movements, to relocate the arrow, use the Control and the arrow keys. This way, you can position the image precisely. To change the direction of the arrow, right-click anywhere on the arrow to invoke the shortcut menu. Note that if you do not click anywhere on the arrow, you will invoke another shortcut menu that provides you a different set of options. From the shortcut menu in question, click Edit Properties and the Line Object dialog appears. Another simpler way to invoke the line object dialog is by double-clicking anywhere on the arrow. Here, holding down on the direction button, rotate the button clockwise or anti-clockwise. Click OK to view how much your adjustment of the button has rotated the arrow. With repeated trials, you must be able to point the arrow in the correct direction you desire. Now, if you wish to change the color of the arrow, the thickness of the line of the arrowhead, or the tail end of the arrow, you can do so using the color, width, start cap and end cap fields. When done, click OK. Once the arrow is in place, you next have to insert the label. For this, first we click on the Insert Rectangle tool from the toolbar on the left. Then click inside the image beside the arrow that you inserted earlier and the rectangle is inserted. Drag the rectangle to the tail end of the arrow. Use the Control and arrow keys to refine the position. To top it with a professional touch, let's add a shadow to our rectangular object. First, make sure the rectangle is selected. Next, on the right, under Shadow tool, select Drop Shadow from the drop-down list. Notice how a shadow has been dropped below the rectangle. Next, click the Insert Text tool from the toolbar on the left. Click inside the rectangle you just created and the Text Object dialog appears. Inside the box, where it reads New Text, delete the words New Text and replace it with the text for our label, which is Search Box. As with other objects, you can resize and change other properties such as text font, color, direction, etc. Next, position this text inside the rectangle. Refine its position with the Control and arrow keys, and there we have our label for the object the arrow is pointing to. Now, instead of going through the pains of adding an arrow, a rectangle and text, and then refining them to our taste, can there be a better method where all three can be done in one shot? Yes, and that's when you use a callout. A callout does the job of a pointer and a text box combined, and sometimes they bring that comic book feel into your help files. The only gripe is that they take valuable space on your images and therefore are best for big images only. If we were to replace the arrow, rectangular box and text with just a callout, proceed as follows. First, click the Insert Callout button on the toolbar on the left and click on the image where you would like to insert the callout. The callout object dialog appears. First, from the shape drop-down list, select rounded rectangle. In the text box, replace callout text with search box. Click OK and the callout is inserted into the image. First, position the callout so that the pointer indicates to the search box. Next, resize the size of the callout using one or more of the handles. To increase the size of the pointer or change its position, double click on the callout or right click on the callout, and from the shortcut menu, click Edit Properties to invoke the callout object dialog. Here use a triangular slide of the pointer size to increase or decrease the size of your pointer. Next, to change the direction of the pointers, click and hold the red direction knob and rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise. Click OK and observe the direction of the pointer that has been moved. With repeated trials, you will be able to get the direction of your pointer perfectly right. As with the rectangle we inserted earlier, for the text label, you can add a drop shadow to the callout too. You can also change the font of the text and change its size, make it bold, etc. For this, double click the callout and in the callout object dialog that appears, click Change Font, and in the font dialog that appears, use the lists and controls to set your font. When done, click OK and click OK again on the callout object dialog to confirm the changes. The changes made can now be seen on the callout. Finally, click the Save button to save the changes made to the image. And again, whether it be a callout, label boxes, labels and arrows, maintain consistency of style. Take time to replay this video and practice the things explained here. You have an interesting assignment to do. In the subsequent video after the assignment, we'll look at some more image editing functions.